The main feature of Islamic law, of course, is that it's religious law. To us, that might mean that it covers only matters of ritual or personal behavior, morality, and so forth, but Islamic law is both religious and covers every aspect of human life. So it has provisions about things like contract, property, criminal law, even tax administration, government, things like that. So that's a surprising thing, sort of the strange thing to us as Westerners. But otherwise, other important features are, it's a jurist law. It doesn't emerge from statutes, from the acts of state, nor is it built up out of cases or court precedent. So often people arrive in the Middle East and they simply don't see it. It's missing. But the reason is they're not speaking to the scholars who propound it. For most countries, the most important preparation is civil law. You know, the Spanish legal tradition will help you better in most Muslim countries than knowing Islamic law, because the laws of the great majority of Muslim countries have largely been taken from the civil law systems of Europe, particularly France. A few have been largely framed according to UK law, or, common law. There are a few countries only that are really applying the traditional Islamic law in a pretty traditional way. Saudi Arabia most of all. So if one goes to, say, Europe or Syria or North Africa, civil law is what one mostly needs to know. The only area where Islamic law becomes particularly important is family law, inheritance, things like that. If you go to the Gulf, however, there can be Islamic law provisions that are affecting even the contract and commercial law. Saudi Arabia, most of all. In Saudi Arabia, there are no statutes, there are no codes, there are no court precedents, there are no published court decisions. The law is entirely made up out of the writings and opinions of scholars, both medieval and modern. Some of them, of course, the judges in the courts, but it's not in their aspect as judges that they're so important, but their aspect as jurists. So in Saudi Arabia particularly, someone visiting from the West or doing business in that country needs to be aware of Islamic law, because that is the law that could apply to them if they were brought to the courts. Saudi Arabia is the extreme case. Now, in the Gulf, it's principles of Islamic law that will influence the commercial law. But generally, Arab countries, as others, are very practical when it comes to things economic, commercial.